movie perfectly captures something. John Carpenter captured dread perfectly in Halloween. David Lynch captured the underbelly of small-town life in Twin Peaks, and now Josh Hasty drew them both when he made Candy Corn, his passion project about a mentally challenged guy named Jacob, who's the newest member of Dr. Death's sideshow spook house spectacular freak show. Are you still following that? No, it was a mouthful. Jacob gets bullied by a group of teenagers every Halloween because there's not much to do in small-town Ohio other than high school football, cruise the main street, which I don't even know if they still do that, go party in the woods or cornfields and do meth. Anyway, that annual hazing doesn't go as planned. Soon we got a murder monster on a dwarf string out for remote control voodoo revenge. But while I think this film has flaws that do detract, like too tight of camera angles, some lackluster CGI, some stilted dialogue, to name a few, I'll give Josh big points for capturing that look and feel of fall in small-town Ohio. Josh is from Ohio, same as myself, and he filmed exteriors of this in a little tiny town called Blanchester in Ohio, which is close to an hour northeast of Cincinnati and has a population of just over 4,000 people. The town I came from actually was like double that, but it's still super small. The one I grew up in was just east of Columbus, which is north of Blanchester, and I think Josh killed it filming the intro and pretty much all the exterior shots. I mean, that is small town Ohio in October, and I 100% agree with his need to film there because there's just no substitute to that Midwest look on Halloween. And to go with that, we got a pretty solid cast for Candy Corn with a bunch of names in here like the Candyman himself, Tony Todd as Dr. Death's right-hand man, Bishop Gates, Courtney Gains as the sheriff. He was Malachi and Children of the Corn. PJ Souls as the sheriff's secretary and was clearly modeled after the very similar Lucy from Twin Peaks. And then there's Dr. Death himself, played by Pancho Moler, who was in Rob Zombie's 31 and 3 from Hell. Pancho and Josh hit it off on the set of 31 when Josh was documenting the making of. So they had formed a connection and wanted to link up again for a project that ended up being, 2 years in the making when they actually started it. Josh is self-taught, having decided not to do film school, and has made a bunch of stuff with friends. They moved on to directing commercials before getting a break documenting the making of 31 and then even doing a featurette of it. You can find that on the DVD. But you can see his influences on display here. There's bits of Carpenter, Lynch, and Zombie throughout. So, if you know what you're looking for. Now, Candy Corn ran into a bunch of budget issues and funding issues as Josh got jerked around by producers who fell through at various times, which stalled this movie out a bunch, leaving Josh with either no money, no connections to people he had tried to bring onto the cast, or doing a remote shoot even with no porta potties or food. Crowdfunding wasn't exactly super helpful. It only raised enough money to do a couple days shooting in LA, where he did inside shots on sound stages as well, using the LA Circus, which was also used for shooting American Horror Story Freak Show. Go figure, that's a solid set to use, and it absolutely fits the bill for Dr. Death's show. Luckily, James Clace of the horror clothing store Local Boogeyman came through to put up the rest of the money, helped design the I Love Lot Lizards shirt for Gus, which is totally in Local Boogeyman's wheelhouse, and then also got producing credit in a small non-speaking role as the wolf guy of Dr. Death's Freak Show. Anyway, let's run down my scores. I'm giving Candy Corn a half star for plot, a half star for kills, a half star for nudity, a half star for tone, and then also a half star for effort. So overall, 2.5 stars. Just a half star down the entire board for all of my categories. Like I said, I think it's a decent movie. It kind of suffers. I'll admit I didn't like it. I didn't like Candy Corn too much after watching it the first time, but like being the movie nerd that I am, once I watch things a time or two and dig into the behind the scenes aspect, I usually gain a better understanding and appreciation for what the movie is. Same goes for Candy Corn, which I'll help fill in some of those knowledge gaps you may have, and hopefully help soften the blow on the criticisms you might have for it. All right, now let's get into Josh Hasty's Candy Corn and take a trip to rural small town Ohio. So go ahead and pause me after the fade. Play the movie. That's if you're playing the movie along with me. And then come back after Dr. Death completes his resurrection spell. And we'll talk about the first part of the movie. Enjoy.
Before you go out haunting this Halloween, why not come into our place, if you dare? For all your Halloween haunting needs, theatrical makeup and accessories, consider, if you will, the J&S Smoke Shop, 284 Moody Street in Waltham.
Open 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 12 noon to 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay, so we got a pack of bullies led by Mike, who's played by Jimothy Beckholt, and they haze the hell out of poor Jacob every Halloween, this time to death. And now we got a resurrected zombie that's primed for some bully bashing. Mike is a real piece of shit, right? You'll see as the movie progresses, he only has one speed. Asshole. There's absolutely nothing sympathetic about him and the rest of his friends, who are all major wimps with no gut, spine, or tongues. Like, let's just go beat up the freak. Jimothy hasn't been in too much, but maybe you recognize their older buddy Gus from The Greasy Strangler. That's Sky Elabar, and you haven't seen, if you haven't seen The Greasy Strangler, I absolutely suggest you do, especially if a movie that's a cross between Napoleon Dynamite and John Waters sounds like fun to you. Gus is our comic relief guy here, who Josh used to break the tension. He actually had to do multiple takes because he kept making people laugh on set, and then they had to go and edit his lines in the movie because it just kept coming too fast and making the audience laugh so much they missed what he was saying. I don't doubt it, as the way Sky delivers lines and the look on his face when he does is pretty amusing. And then real quick, let's talk about Jacob. That mask Dr. Death pulled out is like super sweet. It looks like almost like a Myers mask if it was cut like a pumpkin and then left in the dirt. And that's not surprising given that Justin Mabry of Trick or Treat Studios did the mask and effects work. He's well known in the Michael Myers mask making community. He's like a virtual legend there. The mask in the movie is actually the second design. The first one from the movie's crowdfunding campaign was nowhere near as cool as the final version. And that was a very smart choice to go back and redo it, because a bad mask could have killed the tension in the rest of the movie. I mean, what would any of the major slashers be without their killer good looks? Leatherface has had a bunch of different masks, and they've all been effective. You know, like, what if Jason kept the sackhead mask from part 2 instead of the hockey mask? Like, that's not a good look. Or Michael kept like the clown mask from the beginning of Halloween. Like, hell no. I don't even like any of the other Myers masks. Beyond like the first 2 movies. Or what about the different burn looks Freddy has versus the remake? I mean, these are all no-brainers, right? The mask has to be on point, and I think Josh and Justin just scored a slam dunk on Jacob's mask. Okay, well, we know that people are going to start going down for killing Jacob because, I mean, that's why we're all here. And we're now about to be introduced to Courtney Gains' character, Sheriff Branford, the lawman of Sleepy Grove Hill, Ohio, who's going to be in way over his head here soon enough. So go ahead and pause me after the fade. Watch the movie up until right after Jacob's first victim. Unpause after my commercial break, and I'll see you back here after that.
If you miss it Sunday, you won't know what everyone's talking about on Monday.
Morning, Lucy. What's going on?
Jared decided not to kill himself, and he's changed his will, leaving the towers to Jade instead of Emerald, but Emerald found out about it, and now she's trying to seduce Chet to give
Twin
her the
Peaks,
new will so she can
Sunday.
destroy it.
What's going on here?
All right, so Jacob gets himself a fistful of Gus, and we know that Dr. Death is pulling the strings here. Nobody saw resurrected Jacob before their scenes with him, so their initial reactions were all authentic. Justin Mabry did the effects work as well as Jacob's mask and candy pail, so you'll be seeing him here in the following scene as Deputy Conrad, which was written in just for him. And then Dr. Death is also going to start playing the cops for fools here pretty soon. Like I said, Pancho is in 31 as Sickhead, the little Spanish-speaking Nazi, and is likely the most memorable of the heads beside Richard Brake's Doomhead. Pancho, aside from doing a couple Rob Zombie movies, was also a pro skateboarder, and he's been in stuff from Bad News Bear remake with Billy Bob Thornton to Epic Movie and Ray Donovan. But his role as Dr. Death was written so as to not have him playing a token little guy. Josh wanted him to be above that and not only be in control, but have relationships with the people of his freak show to truly be their leader, you know, for better or for worse. And his scenes are among the best in the movie, though Pancho's delivery isn't always on point. But overall, he does come across as in control and menacing despite being under 4'7". And then definitely giving Bramford a really hard time. His line about how cops always show up after things happen and are never around to stop them kind of, you know, really summarizes the relationship between Dr. Death and Sheriff Bramford. And he's going to take care of things his way because this is his show. And a cast of people that have dried fake blood on their clothes older than him, Pancho probably stands out the most. All right. Well, go ahead and unpause me after the fade. Watch Candy Corn up to when Dr. Death finishes his big speech to the Freak Show family. Pause, and then I'll be back after the next non-paid commercial break. And we'll see you back here.
From the people who brought you Halloween, more of the night he came home. Halloween 2. There is no place to hide. He will always find you. Halloween 2. More of the night he came home. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
Told you Dr. Death truly comes off as a very focused and dangerous guy, huh? Hell, he even makes Candyman his bitch before his speech, which is no small feat. Well, we have 2 more deaths now, and Sheriff Bramford is really on his heels after finding Jacob's mother's body under the bed. This isn't Mayberry anymore, is it, Courtney? Courtney Gains actually got into this because he and Pancho share the same agent, so Josh really made out like a bandit being able to score him. PJ Souls he got through connection at Fright Rags, and Tony Todd almost didn't make it on at all. But Josh was persistent enough to go straight to his manager after his original connection fell through. That's probably the name of the game for Josh, just persistence. It helped make this entire movie possible. I just wish it showed more in the final product because this movie shouldn't have happened, but like I said, hopefully all this info helps you appreciate the work it takes to make a movie, even one like this where the final product isn't amazing, but you gotta just keep pushing forward. Okay, well, let's get back and finish Candy Corn. Does anyone even really like the actual candy corn candy? I mean, in theory, it sounds good, but, you know, like when you start eating it, you just don't care for it. It's too sugary and the flavor is so one-dimensional, you know. But if you're like me, you still end up eating a bunch of it anyway and then questioning why you did because you know you don't like it. I think I just like the idea of candy corn. The candy. It's such a Halloween candy from the color, shape, and seasonal association, but you know what you're really wanting? You're really wanting those Reese's Cups and Snickers. My favorite during Halloween are Smarties. Those are pretty good. You know, but if you like Tootsie Rolls, you can get out of here. All right, and that was Candy Corn. The bullies are defeated, the law didn't come through to stop Dr. Death's revenge tour with Jacob, and we are left with the possibility of a sequel as Dr. Death has moved on to Plainfield, Wisconsin, the town where Ed Gein killed people, and Jacob is still eating his candy corn at the end of the movie. I gotta say, though, that Mike's death was very unfulfilling. After all we saw and what Jacob went through in that beatdown, Mike just gets wiggled around and then has his arms ripped out and his teeth ripped out, which, is still pretty brutal, but just over way too quickly. But the emotion that comes through out of that silent scene with Mike and his dad over the phone was a really smart choice. Josh didn't want to just repeat dialogue for what we all saw and know, so the music and silence of it fills in what we know is being said, and I think really comes across well. Josh did some really interesting things to create or focus emotion in this, from, the scenes where the body's wheeled out to like people crying at crime scenes. But that final scene with Bramford and Dr. Death is another great one in the entire movie, because the power play is on full display, with Dr. Death knowing he has the upper hand and Bramford not being able to control anything anymore. Then you got that moment at the end where Bishop says, "It's too much." And Dr. Death doesn't care because he's completely locked into finishing this. Candy Corn was written as a trilogy, and the newspaper in the diner actually has like the entire outline, but I don't know if we'll actually see it. I don't know if there's much more exploration to do here, and I can't imagine there's a ton of demand for a sequel, which is what Josh said was kind of his marker for needing to do it. There's a bunch of elements here that really work, the score I think being a big one as well, but so much of what went wrong shows on the film, and I don't know if that's a hurdle that can be crossed unless people understand the movie more. It is what it is, but it could have been more if things didn't get in the way, like forcing so many like tight shots, some pretty like not so great CGI work, and I can't think of one of the other things, but I mean, overall, like I said, I enjoyed Candy Corn. It's definitely grown on me a bit each time I watch it. I don't see it ever being like a Halloween time classic. But if you're looking for something newer, why not throw it in the mix when you're binging horror and Halloween themed stuff during October. All right, well, that does it for Corner Room Creep Show this week. I'm Mr. Samhain once again saying, watch something new for a change. I'll see you creeps on the next one. Bye.